Okay, so I want to first clarify that today I'm just going to do an introduction to Gothic letters. So I'm going to cover a few things about the letters. I'm going to give you at least some minuscule letters, but there's no way that I can show you the entire alphabet in 90 minutes. But it's a good starting point so that you know how, if you want to practice it, if I give you what's called an exemplar, you will be able to just make stuff from that easily enough, and then you'll just take off. So this is going to be like a prep session. I'll talk about a little bit about the history, and I'll also talk about the materials so you know how versatile the script can be. Right, so now the Gothic script historically, this is how it looks. I've shared a picture on the group so you all know this. So this is a script that developed quite independently in medieval Europe. The moment you look at this, you think of medieval times because that is when a lot of writing was done. Strangely enough, everyone thinks about medieval period as the Dark Ages, but there was enough writing and art that proliferated during the Middle Ages for us to give us at least beautiful scripts like these. These scripts come as a kind of a bastardized form of the Latin script after the 8th century. So let me give you a little bit of a background of that. So let's go back 2000 years. This is the Roman Empire. This is what we did last week. We did these Roman letters right up to 800 AD when Charlemagne, who was a Germanic prince, conquered. So much of politics and all is also involved in this. Because he felt that the Romans conquered Europe and stayed the imperialists in Europe, largely because of this script that unified everyone, he said, even I'm going to do the same thing. So while on the one hand, I have enough military power to conquer everything, how do they stay together? So he hired a monk called Algonquin, and he told this guy, look, you're an expert in lettering. I need you to find a way to just make sure everyone understands what I'm saying. That includes people who are on the periphery of the Roman Empire, whom I've conquered now, and they all need to be speaking the same language or at least understanding each other. So this guy, Algonquin, went and invented a script. So he took a lot of scripts that were prevalent at that time. This is 800 AD. Okay, this is a long time ago. So every lettering was still in its nascent stages. So he takes all of these and he comes up with something called a Carolingian script. This is named after Charlemagne. And he started making it mandatory that all documentation, at least official documents, start becoming in the Carolingian script. And this, then obviously anything that the royals do, everybody else starts doing. So it percolated through the rest of society. But they could not solve the problem of language using script. So as you know, there are still languages in Europe which have a few different strokes here or there, or like the umlaut in German or the accents in French, which have to be applied to the letter so that we get the right sound. At the end of the day, the script has to aid in understanding the language. You can't modify the language according to the script. So there still was a lot of variety, and this group of letters was what developed in Germany, Austria, and that part of Western Europe. Further down in Italy, these letters were looked at as very bhatta, very gross, because the Italian or the italic script was very gentle. Then further into Spain and Portugal, they had a different leaning of script also. So, I mean, the more you dig into it, the more you will find there's a whole lot of stuff. So why is it important to know that this script is Western Europe or Germany or that area? Is because this script, you will not believe, had such a significant impact on the whole German socialist movement before the Second World War, or even after the First World War, that the Nazi party dug out this script and said, "This is ours." And they decided to make all their pamphlets in this script. And there's a very weird, funny, scary story where they printed a message in this script and on leaflets, and showered these leaflets all over France, saying, "You guys are lost. We are just coming over and taking you," and destroyed the morale of the French. That's how the story goes. Now it's all, I would love to think that it's the script that did it, but I'm sure there's a whole lot of other stuff that also happened around the same time. So if we practice it knowing the impact the script has, you will start becoming a little more open to seeing what you can do with the script as well. Because every letter has a way of reflecting itself or the information it is giving on the page. There has been a lot of research done about what fonts can be used for what information. Like, it is now ingrained in our heads that if there is important information that has to be transmitted, you use a formal serif type font, because if you don't use that, that information loses its importance. I mean, if you get your electricity bill in a sans serif font, would you be would you believe in it or not? They actually did this survey. So there was one time in the late 90s where on the net you could participate in this survey. They would send you a fictitious story, or you wouldn't know whether it's fiction or it's real. And based on the font, they could predict that people could believe a very ridiculous story if they used a particular serif font versus give you the truth in a sans serif. You will doubt the sans serif. It's just how we are conditioned now. The next generation, I don't know, because they are much more used to sans serif. All right, now getting back, I'll be making a lot of these detours along this line because there's so much to say and so much to explore. Right, so to begin with, Gothic script is written with any tool which has a flat or a broad edge. So these scripts are called broad edge scripts. A lot of scripts fall under that, and Gothic script, that what I call Gothic script, is an umbrella term for a number of scripts in which you will have things like Fraktur, Schwabaker, Old English, Old Germanic. There's a whole list of scripts. And because these were handmade scripts, there isn't one right way to make the script. You will find many versions of this. So each version will have an entire ductus. So you should, if you are practicing, get an entire A to Z capital and small letter ductus, which you can follow and practice that so you are proficient in that particular script. And you might say that this is one kind of Gothic script, and you will find its own version, which will have one wedge over here or one extra flourish over there. It is still Gothic script. So don't get confused about that. It's a very loose term. So we are going to start off with understanding how the Gothic script works and a few bits of terminology that I'm going to tell you. We will write that or draw that as well, so you get a little bit of practice. तुला pen देते.
I have this brush.
Okay, you can start with the brush also if you want.
And I use watercolor, right?
Yeah, you can use watercolor. I have put water here. All right. So first things first, we have to build a scale for these letters. By the time these letters became very, very popular and they were written, they were used to write a lot of books. There was a beautiful math with which you could predict the letter size and write them, so that you could calculate how many pages you needed and accordingly order vellum to make the book, and also accordingly then price the book and then find the right person to buy from you. So these books are extremely expensive. Literally a single page could cost you like a herd of sheep or something like that. One page. So this was only meant for the wealthy. and there was no wastage. So you would not find a scribe who writes something, crumples up that vellum and throws away. This is only a modern version. Nobody ever did that. Paper was not that easily sourceable. So let me explain a little bit about scale to you. Now, when we talk about scale, we look at something like this. This is a stick which is calibrated with a particular measurement, and all we need is some kind of measurement with a particular unit. In the case of a ruler like that, you have centimeters and inches. But really speaking, I can make a scale out of any unit that I want. So in the case of these Gothic script or broad edge lettering scripts, the scale unit is the width of the pen. So in case of the brush, it will be the width of the brush. In case of this chisel pen, it will be the flat edge, not the angular, the exact flat edge of the pen. And for the calligraphy pens like these, oh, this is very tiny. This is already flat, so we will be using the flat like so. I'm going to show you how to make these three scales. So the first thing to do is mark a vertical line along the left edge. Just a small line right now, not too long. And we will make three different scales. So I have three vertical lines. And I'm using a brush here, and I'm using a red scarlet paint. So it's very important that you maintain that flatness of the tip of the brush. So don't be too rough on the cake. Just take paint by pulling the brush backwards from the cake. And this is what you need to do. I want you to first observe this. Don't draw with me, draw after me. I'm going to place my brush vertically and pull a small line out sideways and lift the brush slowly. And then if you want, you can turn the book around, make the next one below it. Because I've turned it around, it's become upside, it's gone to the top, and you create this scale. You have to make sure that the edges do not overlap. So this gives us a pen width. Now I have got 4 pen width, 5 pen widths, 6, 7, and so on. I can keep making this scale all over the page on the left hand side, and this will give me a scale measure. So the same thing I can make in a chisel marker. You can start with this one. In a chisel marker, it's exactly the same, but remember, if I keep my marker straight, my line will be crooked. So I have to keep the line straight and pull it to the side. And so that you can see where you are making the line, you can turn it on its side or upside down so that by mistake you do not overlap. One, two, three, four, five, six, seven. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. As you can see, when I change the tool, the height changes. Okay, now I'm going to take another pen. This is again 2 mm, then so this is a very vital part of lettering, getting the scale right. So these are called pen widths, and you actually measure the scale in pen width or height if you want. All the scripts that we write with a broad edge pen will come with a proportion of X height, ascenders and descenders. And the best bit about these scripts is that somebody has actually given thought and time and made such an exact science out of it. So you have the height of the minuscule letters, which is called the X height. Then you have ascenders, descenders, and sometimes also capitals. And each of them have a particular proportion. So for the Gothic script that we are going to do, this proportion is 5 pen widths, that's the X height, by 2, that's the ascender and descender space, and 3. So the X height is 5, ascender descender is 2, and the capital within that itself is 3. So I'm going to show you how to create that, and we will write our first letter in that.
What is X?
X height. I'll explain. Okay, so again, let's begin. Now, if you have a scale or a straight edge, it will help at this point, though I should have mentioned this earlier. Let's make a vertical line again. Again, not too tall, so you can make it freehand as well. This time from the top, using whichever tool you find most comfortable, you can make these heights. So you will make 3 pen widths on top, 5 pen widths after those 3, and 2 pen widths below. So we will have 10. Okay, let me make this for you. So start off with 1, 2, 3. This is going to be for the capitals. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So the next 5 are for the minuscule letters, and 9, 10. This is for the descenders. So what we do is we will mark lines at these points. Now I'm going to call them the ancients, but they're not really that ancient. Medieval calligraphers had a very interesting tool. They would make holes on either side of the page, and then they would use a blunt tool like a rounded knife or a butter knife. Let me show you. I have a picture of that. Okay, so this is the process. This is from a 12th century book on bookmaking. It's like writing a self-portrait. So I don't know if you can see this knife here that he's holding, which has a rounded edge. So imagine a butter knife which has a rounded edge like that, which won't be sharp enough to hurt anybody, but just enough to score on vellum. So we can create something similar by literally just using a toothpick. So what you can do is mark a line at 0. So if you don't have a toothpick, you can use just the blunt edge of your cutter maybe, or a scissor. And you'll see that there's an indent in the paper. The best bit about these indents is, which you can by the way even do today, if you want to write a card to somebody, you don't have to use pencil to make these lines. You can just use any tool that can mark an indent on paper, which only you can see and only for a little while. And once it is stacked or even ironed, you can get rid of that mark. It's an ingenious technique. Something similar was also used when writing in Devanagari. So our Indian ancients have used to write on smaller sheets of paper, thinner papers, and for them they made a wooden block in which they would run a thread across that little board, and then they would put wet paper on top and let that dry just with those threads. And once the paper dried, it would automatically have indents, so you don't have to draw any lines. As far as possible, you don't want to mess the surface, whichever surface you're working with. Okay. Now the next thing to do is, when you're writing with your pen, you have to maintain a certain angle, and this angle should be 45 degrees. So right now we made a scale by keeping the angle at 90 degrees. But this is the angle that we want to keep when we are writing. So don't change your tool now. Now that you've made the scale, you have to maintain the same tool. So this is the angle. Once you write on at 45 degrees, you'll get the thinnest line at 45 degrees and you'll get the fattest line opposite of that. And we have to maintain this angle throughout. So if we want to make a straight line, we will hold the pen at 45 degrees but make a straight line with that. So this is going to be the height of our letters. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is just a stroke I've made so that I can show you the thinnest and the thickest line. And we are going to make all the letters in a combination of different strokes with the tip of the pen held at the same angle. And between all these three and the fourth one being horizontal lines, the thickness of the line varies just a little bit by virtue of the fact that we are keeping our pen at the same angle. So obviously, the moment you change the direction of the stroke, it is going to change the width of the line. Alright, you want to try making these shapes? What is the extent per meter? That's all. Square is not necessary. As long as you know that that's
So
the
it
height.
is 3, 5, and then 2.
Now it is possible that you will need some practice making the straight line. That is why I did not say that I will teach you the entire alphabet today because holding the brush at an angle and making the lines straight, it just really throws you for a loop. So the trick is to not look at the tip of the brush or your pen. When you're holding your tool, also do not hold it like we normally hold a pen or pencil, which is the index finger and the thumb are in the same line. If you're doing this, there will be a shiver and there's a good chance that you're making lines that are leaning to the right. So, what you should do is take your thumb back up to the first knuckle. And then when you keep the brush on paper, don't look at the tip, just focus on making a straight line like this. And hold your papers with both hands, please. You won't be able to make a straight line otherwise. So this is 45 degrees. So this angle again is not sacrosanct. You will see scripts which are written at 40 degrees, 35 degrees, 50 degrees. It all depends on the scribe and their style. Alright. Are you getting it? Do you want a couple of minutes to just practice those strokes? Okay, now I'm switching to Sumi ink. So calligraphy people, you can use Sumi ink for this if you want, if you have a flat brush. The basis of all letters, right from Roman times, through Gothic, right up to copperplate engrossers, all of them rely on the proportion of the oval or the O shape. Okay, so the minuscule O shape is written like this. Just so that you know where my height is, my x height is, I'm going to make a line in red because the scored lines may not be visible. So this is how you have to make an O. I just want everyone to observe, because this is not theory that you can listen to. You'll have to pay attention to where I place my brush and how I drag it down. So remember, we have these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pen widths. I'm converting them to black so then they become a little more visible. This is our x height, within which I'm writing an O, but I don't start from the top. I start somewhere on the second so this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on the second brush stroke, coming down to the fourth, and then I take a right turn, sorry. Okay, and then from the top I can do the same parallel this way and bring down the stroke the same way so that it comes and rests right next to the first strokes. So this is a basic oval shape. It looks like a hexagon. That's the intention. And there is some similarity between these shapes and the shape of windows and doors in Gothic castles and Gothic architecture. I don't know whether that was the intention one way or another, but that's how it turned out to be. So that the books you read had shapes that looked like doors and windows of the buildings in which those books are supposed to be read, like churches. Now, all of these will have something called a ductus. A ductus is when I give you a sequence to make the strokes and a direction. So in the beginning, look for a ductus which will have arrows as well as numbers. And I'll be sharing a few of these later on for you to have fun with.
So I come down, then I come down, do this one, I go up. And this, then I do this.
Yeah, just to up to that baseline. Yeah, I'm just giving all the terms now. So the letter sits on what is called the baseline. And mind you, the baseline is the line on which the small or minuscule letters sit, not the descenders, and sometimes even not the capitals. Excuse me, I'm coming down with a terrible cold. The height of the minuscule letters is between the baseline and X line, and that height is called the X height, which is measured in terms of pen widths. So the X height is measured in terms of pen width. So in this case, what I would say to you is we are making a Gothic hand which has an X height of 5 pen widths. Okay, 2 pen widths for descender space, which will bring us to the descender line. 2 pen widths for the ascender line. I have not drawn a line over there, but that is just meant to indicate. And 3 up will be the capital line. Okay, is this clear? Once this is clear, you will just be able to read any text for calligraphic scripts. It doesn't have to be Gothic, and just recreate them very easily. This 45-degree is the pen angle, and depending upon the script you use, this pen angle can vary. So every time you want to copy a script, what do you watch for? You look for the pen angle, you look for the scale. I'll just put that down. And in the scale, you will also be given a proportion, maybe somewhat like this, or they will just indicate it with pen widths. All right. Everyone comfortable so far? Right.
Aditi, could you just repeat the ascender, please?
The ascender over here is 2 pen widths above the X line. So 1 and 2 over here. If I were to draw a line from here, this would be the ascender line. And on the ascender, you get letters like the D, T, H, L, K, and B. Okay.
Okay, got it.
All right. Okay.
So two below is descender, two above the X line is the ascender.
Correct.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. Now let's try making some letters. And as we go along, I will give you more terminology. I'm switching now. Yeah.
Aditi, do we need to do this or just leave it?
Do
What
what?
you've shown us,
Uh-huh.
do we need to write it down or do it ourselves at the moment?
Not really, no.
Okay.
I just wanted to explain this to you.
Right, right.
But I hope you have practiced some of these strokes.
Yeah, those we've practiced.
Yeah.
I haven't been able to write, put all the, that I'll do later.
Yeah. Do that later. Not a problem at all. All right. So now what I want you to do is make a scale on the left, and we are going to make horizontal lines that run across from the left side to the right side of the page, and I'm going to give you some letters in that. I'm switching from my brush to a 3 mm calligraphy pen that's about this wide. And here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to mark with my ruler a line on the left and a line on the right. And I'm going to make a scale on both sides. So you have to be very accurate. Start measuring from the same point below. I hate to go from the edge of the paper. So I will mark a line maybe 1 centimeter above. Just make sure it's straight and start the letter, making the scale from that point up. I have marked it on both sides. On both sides at 1 centimeter above the bottom. And from here, I'll start making the scale. So we'll make it from the bottom up because we don't know where it's going to end from the top. And if we start from the top over here, start with some measurement from the edge of the paper. So Dipti, you wanted to make them square, no? You just need to pull them a little more. If you make the length of the line as long as the width of the pen, you will make a square. So right now, don't count how many you're making, just keep making them. And ideally, you should make them from the line outwards. So this is how you should make them. Touch on the line and pull out. And I prefer to rotate my book every time. I know it sounds like a very tedious thing to do, but well begun is half done. I wonder sometimes whether it's these practices that I find sometimes in uh, the European culture that has embedded this whole good preparation before taking on any task, or measure twice, cut once, and they don't go about things haphazardly. If you're taking too long to make the scale, there's another way in which we can make the lines also. I'll show you that as well. So instead of making the scale on both sides, if it's too tedious, since we have calibrated rulers, you can just measure what the height of your letter is. Now, in my case, this is a 3 mm width pen. I know it. So, and I would advise all of you to use a fatter pen in the beginning rather than a thinner pen. So, 3 mm should be the minimum. So, I know that 2 pen widths is going to be 6 mm. 5 pen widths is going to be 15 mm, because this is a 3 mm pen. My unit is 3 mm. So I can easily make lines at 6, 15, 6, 15, and so on. So one way also is to measure it over here, measure the lines over here, and depending upon how you are going to distribute, you can make this line at 2 pen widths, then 5 pen widths, and then 2 pen widths right now, because we are not going to make capitals in this. So that is 656. Sorry, what am I saying? 252, and then again 2. That's 2 pen widths, 5 pen widths, and 2 pen widths. Okay. So what I want you to do from the bottom is mark a line at 2 pen widths, 2, 5, 2. This will be one set of letters. Then you will mark again 2, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 2. Oh, sorry, 2. Some more? Okay, so from the bottom, 2, 5, 2. So this would be the job of an apprentice, or even like a scribe apprentice. In a scriptorium, which would be the place where books would be made, there would be at least, I think, 7 different kinds of employees for a single book. There would be one person who would prep the vellum. There would be an apprentice who would score the lines. Then an apprentice who would mark, oh no, the same guy would mark these pen widths and then score the lines and keep the vellum ready. Then there will be a scribe who will first ink all the text. Then there would be a rubricator who would put in the red ink, which would be on the capitals. Then there would be an illuminator who would illuminate the manuscripts with gold leaf. Then there would be an illustrator who would then draw the pictures or the illustrations required for the book. And then, of course, there wouldn't be just one of these. Oh, then there would be a checker. There would be a person who would check if all the text was written correctly. So if you make your scale perfectly, then drawing these lines is so much more fun, better than measuring with the scale and then drawing the line. Okay, this is how it will look. 2, 5, 2. Draw this part very slowly so that you don't make a mistake. Although I think I have made a mistake. I don't know why. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yes, I have made a mistake. So I caught my mistake because I made the scale on the two sides in as mirror opposites. So if my first stroke on the scale is to the right, on the left scale, it's on the left on the right side scale. It can be either, but then I know as I go higher, there should be an in-facing stroke from both sides at number 5. I don't know what I'm doing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2. Correct. Track.
Aditi, do you want us to leave space between each 252 set or just
No.
go ahead with?
Yeah, you don't need to leave space. Now, when you're practicing, you can make this just once and use a dark pen to make these lines and use that as a guide from underneath the sheets. And we don't need to use very thick sheets for this. We can just use printer paper or best just use a what's called a bond paper that's often used for laser printing because that's a much smoother surface. So they're pretty cheap and you can practice a lot on them. My glasses for receiving. Yeah, this is one off. Nine? 252, 252?
Not right. Mine is in the back.
Okay, take. And first day, yeah, you may or may not get it accurate. Even mine is inaccurate because I don't do the script a lot. But you get the idea.
Right.
Okay, so I'm going to be showing you, of course, the letters in a different order. We won't go to from A to Z because the script is easier to learn if you get chunks of the same strokes over and over again. So we'll start off with just some basic strokes. First one is stem, for which these are the strokes that you draw. Please watch. So you make a stroke that's called a diamond, which is holding the pen at 45 degrees, you pull a stroke down to 45 degrees, pretty much like this stroke but at an angle. And then you take the pen backwards into that diamond and make your stem come down. Okay? Then again you go backwards, pull the stem downward, and then with the edge of your tip of your pen, make a hairline that goes up. This is the letter I. Now I'm going to give you the ductus for this, and if you want, I can make this again. So the first stroke is just that diamond stroke on top. Then you have a stem which stops short of baseline, doesn't go and touch the baseline. Then you have stroke 3, which is parallel to stroke 1, and then with the edge of the pen, you make a curved line that goes up. Do you want to give it a shot? I've turned it upside down because the key is sitting in front of me. So she'll make the strokes upside down over. So you might have a few problems that you might come across. One is getting this diamond shape accurately. So I'm going to make that shape one more time. And don't worry about it on day one. No scribe in history has got it. So this stroke is a diamond. This is the stem. Notice that the widths of the strokes are different because the angle at which you pull the stroke is different. And this again is like this. So there's a little curve at the bottom on the bottom stroke, and they all overlap each other. You'll get it by the end. Yeah, 1 second. So for people who are using the chisel pen, I forgot to mention this mistake. You hold the taller end towards your thumb and the shorter end towards your index finger. So your strokes will remain holding the pen like this. They're much easier than trying to hold it the other way around. Instinctively, we feel this is a better angle, but this is the more comfortable angle.
Yeah, I think holding the shorter end towards your thumb was leaving a trail, like a longer. It was looking more like a trapezium than a perfect rectangle or square.
My mistake. This is a much better.
Yeah.
Now after this, let's try writing the U, which will just be two of these strokes. So you have the first stem.
What has happened to your? What's happened to your audio, Aditi?
What is happening to my audio? Am I inaudible?
Yeah, you've gone very soft suddenly.
Oh, have I? Okay. I have no idea. All right, let me try. There's no reason why I should have gone.
Maybe the some speaker sound or the mic sound has reduced.
Audio. No? No. Sorry. Okay, let me just make this. Maybe it'll adjust itself. So, after you've made this one stem, you pull this line up and make the second stroke here. And this gives you the U.
Aditi, can you show how to make the diamond one more time, please?
Yeah, the diamond is simply holding the pen at 45 degrees and pulling it in at a 45-degree angle towards the baseline. So this is how I can make it. That's all. And if you want, I'll just make that line more prominent. The pen is held at 45 degrees and it's pulled in this direction.
DP, can you just explain the eye and just the thing again? I'm a bit slow.
Not a problem. I will show you how. So let me use two different colors and show you. You can make the diamond shape like this. Then often what we'll end up doing is making the next stroke immediately at the end of the diamond, but you don't do it that way. You backtrack to the center of the diamond, maintain the same angle of the pen and bring it down. Okay, so can you see how this vertical line actually starts the center of the diamond, not the end? And then we again make a diamond at the end of this stem in such a way that a little bit of it sticks out on the right, and using the left tip, make that little stem up. Okay, and as far as the dot is concerned, you can make a diamond on top, or you can make this a little mark like this, again at 45 degrees, and pull it downward. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. So the biggest challenge is being able to just hold the pen at that particular angle and keep making those lines. Okay, I'm just going to help Dipti a little bit.
Something's going on.
Yeah, it's coming too long.
It should end here, right?
And also, खूप दाबू नकोस. You should get खूप दाबल्याने ते जास्त blot होते. Straight down. आणि फक्त टिपनी असं घ्यायचं. Okay, so not the whole pen. And don't press so much.
Look for it.
No, tip. Turn it to its side. Gently.
Is this the regular gloves or the Canberra?
Okay. So moving on, you can do the same thing and create a W. And the intention everywhere is to maintain the space between the letters and also the width of the strokes, so that your letters become just a set of vertical strokes with hollows in between. So these are the same, the last one just ends here. Okay, I'm going to just give you a couple of minutes to practice this. Then we move on to the other letters. There aren't too many different strokes. That's this. pen also, no? When you are looking at the stroke,
It blots there.
it blots. Okay, the next letters, let me just make them for you. They're all now a combination of these. So the next letter are N and M. Or we can also make a V before that. Yes. So V would just be the second part of W. No wonder this is looking fat. Order 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Scale. Then this would be the N. So you have one stem in the beginning, and then you make a hairline to make an arch. So this is like the arch we made over here. And pull this down, make a foot, and take the foot out. That's an N. Now this will become a little wider than my W, which is not a good sign. I should keep it the same. And if I double this, it will become an M. I'll wait after making the M so you can see the similarity between the two. You must remember though that this is hand lettering. So while on the one hand we are striving for some kind of uniformity, because otherwise where's the fun in it? There are also lots of versions of how the letters look, and all of them are okay. Okay, now here's the test. If you are writing well enough, we are going to write the word minimum. So I want you to see, I want me also to see if I can manage this. Okay, just wait now. Just watch this. So it's just a series of the same letters over and over again, the same strokes, and all I need to do is maintain the space between them. So I have M, I, N, I, Okay, so this is how it should look. The space between and the space within the letters has to look exactly the same. So that if I were to cover the bottom and I cover the top, you should not be able to tell which letter is which. They have to be that uniform. Now over here I can see there's an extra gap. There's a little extra gap. I need to work on that. Okay, Dipti has collapsed over here. Okay, so I'm gonna I'm gonna go through the Gothic only so much. I will finish this page. I will share a few adductors with you, but I want you to also know that the broad edge pen can be used for even more fun letters. While this is one way of lettering, you should not uh, you should not miss out on the fun way of lettering also. All right, so now you know how the broad edge pen works. You can also try writing regular letters with this. Now, suppose you want to write the word travel, or yeah, let's try travel. You can use the same principles to write simple letters with a few flourishes that come from calligraphy. So make strokes like this. Without changing the angle of the pen, you can still make things like these. Yeah, do you want to give it a shot? So I've written no baseline, nothing. You just look at the letters and try to make them.
Aditi, in this also you have the shorter edge of the chisel on top.
Yeah, the same. I have not changed the angle at all. It's exactly the same. And also the angle remains the same. To angle 45 degrees. Okay, then we could probably write something like Friday. No, this is Tuesday. Why do I think it's Friday?
Now I can barely hear you.
Oh, okay.
I don't know what's happened.
I don't know what's happening today. Maybe because I'm not speaking very.
It was loud in the beginning, but now it's very faint.
Okay, try this.
Never mind, I can hear you. It's just very faint.
In this case now, I am manipulating the brush, the tip a little bit, so that I can make these serifs. And this is how Roman lettering is done. So you make these serifs like these. Now here I'm changing the angle also.
Aditi, can you show the S once again?
Yes, the S is make the middle part first, and then the top, and then the bottom comes and joins the middle part from the left.
Okay.
It's the direction of the strokes is pretty important here. 1, 2, and 3 also. So you don't drag it up.
You show the A as well?
The A, this A. I won't show you this A because I mean it's painful. So I will show you. So angle remains 45 degrees. For all 3 strokes. So you don't get one tip on top. There's like a wedge. So the
Aditi, yeah, sorry.
best exercises that you can do to practice this are the letter strokes we did in class. Sorry, remember these? This is the proportion at which your regular letters will look the best using a broad edge pen. So,
We can't hear you.
oh, you can't hear me? Oh, sorry.
Can't hear it.
Any better?
What's happening?
Is it any better now?
Yes, slightly better.
I don't know what's happening. All right. So, when you are practicing these letters, definitely make a baseline, make a capital height, but it does not have to be, this lettering does not have to have a scale. Now you know this is how tall you want to make the letters. And only practice capitals. Don't practice capital letters and small letters because the proportion can be slightly different. So, say you want to write the alphabet in all caps. This is how you can write it. Keep the angle the same. And remember from last class, what was the proportion of these letters? We had a slightly small square for the A, half the square for the B, a full square for the C. Can you see that? Now instantly the letters start looking a little different from what we are used to because we write all these letters pretty much the same size. But in lettering, it makes a big difference how wide or short your letters are. Now, because we maintain that 45-degree angle, this is where you will get the thinnest part and this is where you will get the fattest part of the stroke. All that is just built into the design of the pen itself. So in Roman letters, just so you know, there is a proportion. The height of the letters is about 11 and a half times the uh, the the pen width. One second, there's some messaging happening. Oh, okay. Sorry. Yeah. All right. So this height is generally 11 and a half pen widths, whatever pen width we use. So if you make it too big also, that thick and thin will not stay. And if it is too small, then the thick and thin is too overwhelming and it does not really give you adequate contrast. So we need room for the letter to move. So how will you practice? One is, I will give you a ductus for this. This should be easy enough. But you can literally just take some rough sheets of paper and every day just write something with or without a baseline or anything. Now, these are some old ECGs, which I don't know why I keep, except that the paper is really good and also it's got a nice grid to it. These are not mine, by the way. Yeah, so how about we write simple letters, but try having fun with them. So, always break the stroke so that you can make the best shape with the pen. Try out some random flourishes. And some creative compositions. See, this should be easy enough, no? Okay, I'll share this also with you. So it's just your regular letters, nothing else. Just keep the pen angle constant.
Aditi, could you share the Gothic, that in the beginning, the picture that you showed us on our Tuesday group? I think it's on Art at Home. It isn't on our group, right?
Which one?
The Gothic that you showed, that beautifully written Gothic and Gothic.
This.
Yes, please,
Yeah, I'll share this.
on our group.
Yeah, this one turned out really nice. And then I wrote one which is completely inappropriate for Gothic because I wrote that mostly in wait, I'll show you. I had to remake this.
This is lovely. The Gothic and the flourishes and
Yeah. So this was my opinion.
ah,
And then I thought there's more of engrossers than Gothic.
yes,
There's no
but still lovely. The Gothic
yeah.
becomes even more Gothic with the engrosser around it.
I did not want anyone to ask me to show this script today. This is going to be next week. So I did not want to get into that. That's why I just
Okay.
that completely.
This is perfect.
This
Yeah.
is, if you don't show it to them, it doesn't exist. Okay, I'll share this. I'll share this.
Yes,
How
please.
it's turned out. Yes. Okay, so good. Any feedback? Any comments?
So Aditi, when are you going to start the regular classes for Gothic?
Oh, the Gothic is on in the calligraphy batch. So what
Okay.
we've done in the calligraphy class on Fridays is to make more sections in the batches, because usually what I need to do is just give you a little bit of instruction or adjustment, and then everyone practices. So it does not warrant a 2 hour independent class for one script. So what we've done is, from 3 to 4 on Fridays, we have engrossers. Then from 4:30 to about 5, we have
No, three to four you have round hand. I mean American cursive.
oh, sorry, American cursive, sorry.
Yes.
I forgot that. And then 4:30 to 5 we have
Yes.
engrossers.
Engrosser, the beginners engrosser.
Then 5 to about 5:30 or 5:45, we have an advanced engrossers where I write a particular script, and then the advanced students can then write after me. And then we have from 5:45 to 6:15, we have the Gothic script. So right now there's only one student, only Garima is doing Gothic. So those who want to practice that, it's like a half-hour thing. But usually I encourage everyone to join in for the whole hour, so that you can practice during that hour. And then I give you the next thing whenever your time comes. That's generally how it works. So the class will be on from 3 to 4 if anyone wants to sit through and just take an instruction, even if I'm not giving you instructions, so checking your work. And also from 4:30 to about 6:15. And you can sit the entire time. Okay?
So I'll just check with you and then start, because I missed my thing.
Yeah, 1 second. No?
Mm.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Aditi, one question. So this bowl of sea that you see, I'm having a bit of a problem not knowing where to end it, like how far or how wide it should be. And then the upper part is, a little short of the lower part.
Yeah, I'll show you how that works. It's best understood from last week's class. So see this? Yeah, so you remember this proportion that we have? If you were to recreate that, then you will get the proportion of the C. It is much wider than we think it should be, because in our normal lettering or handwriting, we don't tend to make things that wide. So this is the square in which you have a circle, right? And then you make a cross, and then you have this line on the right and the left, correct? So our C fits from this point all the way down till here. So it extends further at the bottom. Let me show you. You start at 45 degrees angle over here. So this is the thinnest part. Then it becomes rather fat, and then it becomes thinnest over here. This is where you know you have to end your C. And then you come from the other side, and then you end it over here, which is technically it would be the fattest part, and you end it right here, But you can also give it a little flick of the brush and bring it inward so that you get this nice serif automatically. And then all the other letters will fit in exactly the same way. So now in this, if we want to make Roman letters, the height, let me check if I manage this height just visually. I don't think it is 11, so it might look a little too fat, but let's see. 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, about 9. So it can become even bigger. 10, 11. So this is how the C might look. Oh, that is the proportion of the thickness of the line. If we were to follow the Roman lettering, then it won't look that fat. So here I'm using the same pen. It makes very fat letters, but it works over here. Okay. Any other problems? Okay, so next month when we do travel illustration, we will be using some of these, but we won't be doing classic Gothic or anything. So don't worry about it. But I wanted you to know that there is a lot that can be done with classic fonts. So I will share the Ductus with you. Give it a shot. I have just learnt it myself, so I can tell you for sure you do not need like a tutor or a certificate course to do anything to do with lettering. This is not brain surgery. So give it a shot. So in the beginning, your strokes are going to be a little crooked. The more you practice the basic strokes, the sooner you'll be able to get your letters in order. Just give me 1 second. No?